Hit it! This is an insulated air-filled mat with 12 centimeters of thickness, easily inflated with the included Schnozzel pump, and packs up to a portion of the size than a lot of regular self-inflating mats. Before we dive in, we've got loads more content like this on our channel, so make sure you like and subscribe below. Now let's jump into the product. This is the MegaMat Lite 12 LXW in its bag, just under 1.4 kilos, about 32 centimeters in length and about 18 centimeters in diameter. In comparison to the popular MegaMat 10, it's sort of less than half the pack size. Now what comes in the bag, you get this guy here, which is the Schnozzel pump. Now this is not a self-inflating mat, it's an air-filled mat, but it comes with this device to inflate it, which we'll show you shortly. You get, as usual, little repair kits as you get with every Exped mat, and then you get the mat itself in the bag here. A little bit of warranty information inside as well that you can keep if you like. We'll put that aside and we'll roll this mat out and get it inflated. So similar materials to what the Exped MegaMats are made of. We'll go into those shortly. First, what I want to do is inflate it. So at one end of the mat, you've got two valves, in and out. So out is deflate, in is inflate. We're going to use that inflate valve in combination with this, what they call their Schnozzel Pumpbag. So this has got this little valve here. If we take this cap off, this will actually fit into the in valve here. So pull that out, attach this on here, leave this side closed so the air's not escaping. And then the idea here is that we use this, we'll actually fill this with air and squeeze the air from this into the mat. So if I give this a bit of a shake, because it's quite a massive bag, there's quite a lot of volume there. If I open that up as much as I can, blow some air with my mouth if I like, and then seal the top, we can squeeze the air into the mat. So I've done this 4 times now and I've almost got the mat inflated, but I haven't done it overly efficiently. So I reckon you could get the mat inflated in 4 pumps. A few little tips for you. Firstly, make sure you don't get this twisted as you're pumping it up. Make sure that's nice and open so the air flows neatly. And there is this little foot section here that you can just tuck under your foot like that, just to hold it flat against the ground, if you like, while you kind of shake this out to fill it up. So I've probably got another half bag left in this and the mat will be pumped up. Pump this up as tight as you want. I'd recommend going as tight as you can to start with, because it's easier to let a bit of air out once you're lying on it than it is to come back and pump air back into it later. Now I can remove the pump off the end of the mat here because there's a little one-way valve in here. So if I take this off now, the one-way valve stops the air from escaping out of there, and I can push this into place, and that's the mat all pumped up. And before I go into comfort and other features, we'll talk about fabric. So this top is the same top that Exped have always used on their MegaMats. It's a stretch 50D tricot material. It's got a nice soft feel to it. And then the sides and the base are a 75D polyester as well, so nice durable material. And it's all TPU laminated on the inside to keep it airtight, and also has some resistance to mold and mildew growth inside, but always good to use the pump when you pump it up because that minimises the amount of moisture that gets inside the actual mat. Now in terms of the construction, this is an air-filled mat, which is different than the Exped or the traditional MegaMats that we know, like we've got behind me here, which is a foam-filled mat. So this has got, inside is filled with 200 grams per cubic metre polyester fill. Gives it an R value of 5.2, which isn't as warm as the foam-filled mat behind me here, but is still a really warm mat for most use, especially what we would find here in Australia, and gives you that much smaller pack size. Now, being air-filled, it needs to have these ribs in it. So these ribs line up. If we just have a look at the base, the same sort of thing underneath here. We've got all these ribs. So between this section here and the rib on the top here, there is a baffle that runs in here to keep this from sort of inflating like a massive balloon. I'll sit on this shortly to show you how it feels, but that still feels pretty comfortable, and you don't notice these ribs here. Dimensions of the mat are 197 centimeters in length and 77 centimeters in width, which is the same as the Exped MegaMat 10 that we've come to love, except you get an extra 2 centimeters of height, this being 12 centimeters of thickness with this guy here, so it gives you that extra space for your shoulders. Now I'm going to lie on the mat or sit on the mat, and I'm also going to compare it to the MegaMat that I've got behind me here. So I put a reasonable amount of pressure in this mat here. I didn't overinflate it. It's really hard to overinflate these mats, particularly with a Schnozzel pump, because they're tested to well in excess of what they can handle, or what an average person can inflate them to at the factory. But I put a reasonable amount of pressure in here. So if I bounce up and down, I've got to bounce a fair bit before I'm touching the bottom. Even sitting just up like this, I'm only just reaching the bottom there, so it feels quite comfortable. Can I feel the ridges? Look, I can when my feet are resting here, but I can't feel it underneath here. If I lay down, I could probably let a little bit of air out to let myself sink into the mat a little bit. And it does have a different feel than a foam-filled mat. I'll lie on this one shortly. And then you kind of roll around a little bit, but it feels quite supportive. If I lie on my side, that extra depth allows my shoulder to sink in here. So it actually feels pretty good actually. A lot of the air beds just feel really rolly. This does feel more rolly than the foam-filled mat, but feels quite comfortable. Now, if I wanted to adjust the pressure in this mat here at the moment, I'll just slide this down. What I would do is open the inflate valve here, and this is why we put too much air or overinflate it to start with. With this little device here, or even just with my finger, I can press the one-way valve in here, the air will come out, and I can let the mat down to my preferred, you can hear it hissing, down to my preferred sort of tension. I can actually feel it only takes a little bit for it to drop down a fair bit. So I've let a bit of air out of there now, and I can feel, my shoulder feels like it's sinking down into the mat. This actually feels really comfortable. You can let a fair bit of air out. Being 12 centimeters in thickness, you can let a fair bit of air out before you're actually touching the bottom. Now the big question is, how comfortable is this compared to the traditional Exped MegaMat that we've known? Now, it's a bit hard to know whether these are pumped up to the same sort of pressure. I've put roughly the same sort of muscle into pumping this up as I did the air-filled mat here. Now, this certainly feels, it's not as rolly. I guess it feels firmer. On the air mat, I feel like I'm rolling around a little bit. When you push down in one spot, you can feel the air being displaced in another. You don't get that as much in this mat here. And lying down, look, comfort's largely the same, just feels sturdier. I don't feel like I'm moving around quite as much. So the main differences in comfort really are that this just feels a little bit sturdier to lie on than the air-filled mat here, which is what you would expect. But if you're looking for the benefits of a much smaller pack size, then the comfort difference really isn't a consideration. Probably the pack size is more of a consideration for you, because this offers superior comfort for an air-filled mat. Now, in terms of the pack size, I'm going to pack this up now to show you how much easier it is, because it's actually easier to roll these up than the air-filled ones, because it's not filled with foam that's trying to expand. It's not self-inflating. So while it takes a bit longer to inflate, it probably is quicker to actually pack up. So to deflate these, we come up the end here, and we can do two things. We can firstly undo the main, well, that's the main thing we want to do is undo the deflate valve here. If we want to make it even quicker, you can open this and then put this little green device in there just to hold the one-way valve open. I'm not going to worry about that now. I'll do it the slow way for you today to show you how quickly it happens. So as soon as I open this, air's going to rush out of this valve here. You can see inside there's no valve or anything. It's just an open, large open port where the air is escaping, and interestingly enough, we can actually see the synthetic fill inside there that's providing that insulation. So all of that air is pretty much escaped from the mat now. So what I'll do is just start to fold it in half. So we'll grab our storage bag to give an idea of what sort of length we want it to fold to. So it's roughly thirds, sorry. So if I fold this and just, you don't need a lot of muscle to squeeze the air out. You can probably do one quick fold initially just to get most of the air out. So that's what I'll do. Folding this up towards the valve at this end here. Squeeze the air out as you go. And that's pretty much all the air out of the mat there now. All that's left to do is just unfold it again. Just fold it a bit neater, and that will make it easier to get back into the bag. I can actually feel the insulation in there at the moment. It's probably a good centimetre thick of insulation in there. So there is a little bit of squishing we'll need to do to fold it up flat. We'll fold that in thirds. And then if I come up to this end here, roll towards the valve. So the air is continually being pushed up towards the valve there. We can see most of that air is gone. There's a little bit of air in this end of the mat here now. But I'm not having to put any muscle into this at all. I don't even have to get my knees on it this time to squeeze that air out. Roll it all the way up, back into the bag. It is a reasonably oversized bag, so it fits back in there nice and easily. Then you can put your Schnozzel pump bag either in first or second if you like. I don't have to worry too much about how this folds up. This can double as a dry bag, by the way, if you like. It does have a clip on top, and you can seal the little valve on the bottom here, if I can find it, and close that up. So if you wanted to use this actually for storage, doubles as a nice dry bag for all your clothes, or perhaps for your bedding that you've got, your sleeping bag to keep it dry. And when you're not using it, it's the pump bag and fits neatly inside the tent. Alternatively, if you just want to take it as a pump, just stuff it in the top of the bag there, fits inside. Do that up, and that is the Exped MegaMat Lite 12 LXW air-filled mat, all packed away. That's how you set it up, pack it away, and a bit of a comfort test for you. These are an awesome mat for car campers with limited space who want premium comfort. Check these out online at snowies.com.au.